What needle brand do you use? I am a Wolfpack member. Shout out to Quadrant Needles. They have the best needles, in my opinion, as far as the cartridge that holds the needle. It hugs the needle pretty snug, so it doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. And then I like the precision feeling that you get from their needles. So yeah, Quadrant Needles. I'm opening my own shop in about 5 months. Any big tips? Yeah, I got a lot of tips. I don't even know where to start. That's how many tips I got. First thing I would say is make sure you're budgeting really well and you're spending your money first on the things that make the biggest difference or the things that apply to the health department. Make sure all of that is done first before you start spending hella money on your decor and all of this stuff, right? And then after that, try to hire people whose attitudes you could be around for a long period of time. You know, like-minded people, people that want to grow, people that want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And then you, as the owner, as the leader, you're going to have to set forth a way to lead the group into success. And sorry, people were coming in and stuff. Yeah, you need to set a vision for the shop. Otherwise, people are just going to see you as just another random shop. I would say set a vision, have group meetings and let everyone know what type of time they're on. Like, hey, we're trying to do like this. This is how we're trying to be. This is how we're trying to greet clients, and we're trying to treat them like this type of experience that we want to do. Jack is over there lurking in the cut. It's kind of funny. But yeah, there's a lot that comes with being an owner. And I think that as you get into it, you start opening your shop, you'll have more questions. And you're more than welcome to join another episode of iShine and ask me those questions as you get closer to your actually doing the shop. But, you know, it's a lot harder than people think because there's a lot more that comes with it than just, you know, getting a building and then just tattooing, right? Especially if you want to think about, like, growth or what's next or any of that stuff. You always want to keep growing and not stay stagnant because it keeps everyone excited about working for you. So that's my general advice right now. That and try to get a business line of credit and then spend your money on the credit card. That way you can get reward points back for everything that you spend on for the shop. But make sure you're paying that credit card every time, utilizing the credit card so that you can build a higher credit limit. You can put your bills on there as well, but just make sure that you're paying it down and you're not just accumulating a bunch of debt. But using that 2, 3, whatever % cash back on those purchases is free money, so you might as well just put it on a good business credit card, and I recommend Chase. All right, moving on. Good. I don't know what that means. Alex Ortega said, don't like the look of opaque. I honestly don't either, to be honest. But a lot of people do some crazy stuff with opaque grays, and yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Let's see. Would you recommend a private studio? I just finished my apprenticeship, and it feels like I'm tattooing on a hard mode, getting clients. And since we're in a secluded area with no walk-ins. Would you recommend apprenticing at a private studio? I just finished my apprenticeship, and it feels like I'm tattooing on hard mode, getting clients in since we're in a secluded area with no walk-ins. Well, since you finished your apprenticeship, technically you wouldn't need to go to a private studio to apprentice, but just being a newly professional artist in a private studio with no clients will be tough at first. I'm not going to lie. You're going to have to build your portfolio up, which means you're probably going to have to do a bunch of free tattoos and then slowly creep your prices up from there. And the reason I said that is because no one is going to come get tattooed by you at a private studio if you don't have work to show that is worthy of them coming out and making the trip or finding your location or any of that stuff. The benefit of the walk-in shops when you're first starting out is, you know, the shop is visible, people are around, you might get a random opportunity to go ahead and take a walk-in and get that experience, get that client, get the recommendation, and so on and so forth. But when you're in a private studio, you really have to become entrepreneurial in your approach, and you damn near got to become an influencer on how you show your work. And especially when you're first starting out, you don't have any work to show because you're brand new. So you're going to have to do some free tattoos, and then you can start charging little by little from there. And I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, but building your portfolio early on is a big deal, especially if you're going to work in a private studio. So, and let me just say that a lot of people are tattooing in hard mode right now. Even experienced artists are losing clientele solely for the fact that some people are just spending money elsewhere or just trying to survive. And then that flood of people that used to come for those same people, it's a little more scarce now. So you really have to be on your toes on how you approach booking your clients, and you have to be adamant about getting back to people and following up on warm leads and stuff like that. But if you get good at doing that and not being a diva about it, you should be able to stay booked pretty well. Wills Inc. asks, do you catch the softer shade transitions with round mags or flat mags? Definitely curved mags. Flat mags have a harsher edge on them, and they have a corner, and if you're not hitting it exactly the way it needs to be, even if you're hitting it exactly flat, it's still going to have this very sharp ending. The round mags really make sure you can get a soft edge around the entire perimeter of whatever your shading technique is, pendulum or mag drag. At least it'll leave you a soft edge. So if you need to fade out on those sides, you can without having to fade out this harsh edge. I think that anyone doing black and gray should use curved mags. It just makes sense because you're trying to get soft shading most of the time. And even when you're packing black, as long as you're at the depth you need to be with the needle, it doesn't matter whether you're using flat or curved mag, you're going to be able to get the saturation. So I honestly am a curved mag all the way. Don't even bother using flat mag, but to each his own, really. So you use Super Black and Allegory for your realism. No, I use Super Black and Intense Dark Gray Wash for my washes. I've used Allegory before, but honestly, I'm kind of open-ended. The only thing I wouldn't use is probably like Dynamic or Silverback or something like that. But as far as like Empire Inks, Allegory, and Intense, really doesn't make a big difference to me. I think the biggest difference is the black that you use, making sure that you're using a black that is super dark and not a green or blue undertone. Depending on how the black is made, they have undertones to the black, and you need to make sure you're using one that looks like a real flat black and something that doesn't heal like it's blue or greenish, because that is a real thing, and it'll kind of take the contrast out of your healed tattoos. Excuse me. How much did you make last year? A little personal. I don't know. Doesn't matter, to be honest. I don't think money is the main focus here. And since you mentioned money, I want to mention the fact that a lot of tattoo artists are in a chase to continue grinding day in, day out to make more and more money and try to get to a destination. I'm not sure what destination they want to get to. Maybe millionaire status or something like that. But I would like to say, as long as you're not living beyond your means, you could be really, really happy and content without making a shit ton of money. You don't need to be a millionaire to be happy. I want to say that. Now, you need to make enough to pay your bills, and you need to make enough to live and do certain things. So obviously that's a factor. But I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, tattooing, we're so spoiled in the sense that we get to do a creative job and make good money from it. Don't take that for granted. When the getting is good, then get it. When it's not good, then be grateful for what you have. Just always be grateful for the position you're in, because you could also be working at McDonald's making fucking $10 an hour, and that would be soul crushing. And the one thing that tattooing is not is soul crushing, as long as you keep your eyes on what really matters. And I think tattooing gives us an opportunity to be more well balanced than most professions because you get to make your own schedule and you get to basically decide how much you want to make, how much time you want to spend tattooing, and how much time you want off to create balance in your life. And I think that's a big thing that's going to start happening, is where people realize the power they have over their lives, especially in this industry, and they're going to start taking advantage of it, and they're going to start setting up their schedule and their appointments and all of that for whatever makes them the most balanced and happy and fulfilled. So I'm not going to answer that question specifically, though. Jason Line asked, opinion on pursuing a tattoo career at 36 years old. I say if you have the willpower and the passion and the ability to take the time to do what needs to be done to get in there and become a serious tattoo artist, I say it's never too late. Bob Tyrell is one of the most well-respected black and gray artists in the world, and he started tattooing at 32 years old. And he was around a bunch of tattoo artists, and he's always kicked it with them and stuff, been around shops and stuff. But then when he started tattooing at 32 years old, he very quickly became one of the most well-known and respected guys, because you would always see him at conventions, and he has a very smooth style, and he does portraits really well. And if you don't already know who he is, you should look him up. I know who he is because I come from an era where we actually paid attention to the OG tattoo artists. I know a lot of new artists and stuff don't do that as much, but Bob Tyrell is definitely one of the most respected black and gray artists. And he started when he was 32. So to be honest, it's never too late. It's just all up to you and how much you're able to pour into it. Because it will take some time to get going, but there's so much information out there nowadays that you might be able to get good pretty fast. I'm not going to lie. And especially the more iShine episodes that you join, you could ask whatever questions you want, and I'm here for you, my friend. Would you ever visit Africa? I'm probably going to visit every single country, continent, state in my lifetime. It just, however it happens, when it happens, we'll see. Let's see. Alex Ortega asked, what to do when business is slow? I mean, there's many things you could do. First things first, I would try to make sure you're not ignoring any warm leads that have been hitting you up in your DMs, in your email, or whatever. Make sure that you're responding to people that even give you an idea that they want to get tattooed. Second, I would follow up with old clients you've already tattooed before. Maybe give them a deal if they come back. Some of them want to come back, but maybe they didn't want to spend the money. But as soon as you hit them with a deal and you're like, hey, I want to continue your project, just letting you know I have some dates open. I'd be happy to do it for this price instead of this price. And it's always feels so good when you get a return client back, even when business is slow, because it's always fun to tattoo returning clients. On top of that, you could run ads, make sure your Google and your Yelp business page is optimized so that it's easy to contact you, especially when people visit your city or they're around looking for the best shop. Running ads on Google business page is going to help you be seen more online and optimize your SEO and stuff like that. Little tricks like that. Do a giveaway so that you can get a lot of eyeballs on your work. Doesn't matter how many followers you have. If you do a giveaway, you will get thousands of comments because people love free things. Give away a free back-to-back session and do a whole upper arm and do something really cool. And then make a video about the tattoo that you did and the client that won the giveaway. Post that. Get a bunch of eyeballs on it. Let them know that you're booking appointments now, and always give a call to action in all your posts. So if you're posting your tattoos or videos or anything like that, make sure they know where they can contact you to book an appointment. All of this really has to do with you optimizing all of the channels that people would book or see you from. And if you do that and you try your best and stuff, I'm sure that you'll be able to book enough clients to be satisfied until the getting gets good again, you know? Tattoos by Eats asked, do you ever go back to Coil machines from time to time? Not really. Maybe for fun, just to play around and stuff, but not really. I thought about getting a little hybrid machine or like a custom machine made, or maybe like a single coil shader machine made just for fun. I know some machine builders, and it would be really cool to get a custom machine. I always thought that'd be cool, but I don't really go back to it for any other purpose than nostalgia or just for fun. At the end of the day, rotaries are superior, regardless of what anybody would like to say. Rotaries are superior, and I don't really have a problem with the machines I use now, so hey. Artisto V asked, do you have a method for good composition? Also, what is considered good composition? It's a good question. So in tattooing, we have a canvas that is an odd shape, right? Let's say it's an arm and a leg, a chest, a back. It's all rounded and like has anatomy to it. There's muscle structures and etc. A good composition for a tattoo would be utilizing the composition of the anatomy to have the best layout based on where you're placing everything, and also prioritizing where your eye would go to first, second, third when you're looking throughout the project, right? Like if you have a female face, and that's your main subject, you would obviously want her to stand out. You would want your eyes to connect to her eyes immediately. And then where does it go next based on the next thing that's the brightest or the biggest? It would go to that next. And then what's accessorizing that? Maybe it's the leaves around that. Maybe there's a background behind the girl's face. But it's basically prioritizing where your eye flows through the piece and controlling the proportions, the sizes of each thing, how bright each thing is or how dark each thing is, how they're layered on top of each other, and all of these factors play into having a sort of feng shui to the tattoo. You know, just like in interior design, feng shui is an art of placing everything in a way that makes it feel good, even if you don't know why it feels good. There's a feng shui to tattooing as well. Everything will be placed in a way when you look at it, you're like, oh, that seems correct. That seems like it's in harmony. And then something could be off, and you don't really know why it's off, but that means the composition is off. The feng shui is off. Something is too small. Something is too big. Something isn't complementing this the right way. Maybe everything is too gray and that something's not standing out more than the next thing, or all of these factors will be covered in my future design course and stuff like that. But these are definitely good questions, because composition in black and gray, and really anything tattooing, but in the style that I do, composition is key, and that's what's going to make you stand apart from everyone else. Moving on. Do you like tattooing? Of course I like tattooing. I wouldn't do it if I didn't like it. I would say that we put a lot of effort into the projects we do, and it can be exhausting, but all the more reason to get your preparation and your just general life balance down so you don't feel like you're burning out. You know, you have to stay focused on not just tattooing, but just what makes your life feel full, happy, centered. And if you can do that, you'll bring that same energy into your tattooing, and people will feel that, and your experience will be better. Your clients will have a better experience with you, and you'll keep a more consistent, positive attitude throughout your days of working. Pink in the pictures. Irv Inks asks, what are the best ways to apply white without it looking pink in the pictures? Looking pink in the pictures. The only reason it would be looking pink is if the blood is seeping through, which is normal. Sometimes you'll do white ink, or you'll do like a hard line of white ink, and it'll be bleeding a little bit. But usually if you're able to just like dab off or wipe off the blood for a second while you take a picture, it'll look bright white. It's either that or you're not sinking the white enough. And if you're also talking about packing white ink with a mag, that's a little different. I don't do that often. I only use hints of white using a liner, because it's the best way to get a concentrated, saturated point of white, as opposed to magging in could almost tint the skin color and become something different than white, especially when it heals. So I use white sparingly, but when I do use it, I'm using a liner, and I'm using that to have like these accents or dots or lines of white, as opposed to a shaded, magged in white, which would probably look more pink than white if that's what you're talking about. But with white ink, you want to hit it one pass. You want to go deep enough the first time, and you want to move on as soon as you hit it. And you want to make sure that the white lines and dots or whatever you're doing is as accurate as everything else, because some people get kind of loose with the white, like it doesn't matter. But if you have sloppy white lines, it's going to affect your clean tattoo, So make sure that you're taking those just as serious as any other black line or gray line or edge or whatever. So take your time with the white ink. Go deep enough so it's saturated. And I wouldn't really mag in white too often, because it doesn't really heal all the best. The lining the white ink is probably your best case scenario when it comes to it healing proper white. Tattooed by Tori asks, what software do you recommend for designing, Procreate versus Adobe? Definitely Procreate. Procreate is great, user-friendly, digital art platform, okay? And professionals use Procreate. All different types of people use Procreate. They do different types of things, and they make money from their work from there. There's everything that you need on there. There's nothing Adobe has that Procreate doesn't have, unless you're talking about like vectorizing an image or something like that. But Procreate really has a ton of toggles and options, and it's way more user-friendly in my opinion. The app itself, Procreate, is done better than the app on the iPad for Adobe. So 100%, you can't go wrong with Procreate. And if you need anything different than Procreate, then I don't know really what you would be talking about, because everything that you need is on there. Us as tattoo artists, we don't really need much. It's not like we're out here fucking doing, some people are doing crazy stuff using Adobe After Effects or whatever. We're not doing all that. We're really just composing images and drawing and erasing and sometimes painting on there. But Procreate has everything that you need, really. Tats by Yuri asks, how many elements or things do you think in a half sleeve panel works best? So my rule of thumb before, when I was first trying to define this style and stuff, was at least 3 elements that are layered together to create a dynamic look. Now I think that that's like the minimum. Like 3 layers is good for a half sleeve or less. As you work your way up to the whole outer sleeve and the inner arm, you want to make sure that you're utilizing, as long as you know how to do it properly, you can get 5 layers in there and really make it look dynamic. That means there will be a lot of stuff going on in the piece, but if you're contrasting it right and you're layering it correctly and the proportions are correct, you could get away with a lot of layers and it'll still look like you know exactly what's going on in there. It's very readable, even from afar. And if you can harness that, that's where the magic happens. The magic happens when you're able to put 5, 6, 7 layers, but you know how to properly contrast and proportionate all of those things. I don't even know if proportionate is a fucking word. That's where your tattoos start to look crazy and your projects are telling a story and people are like, oh my God, how did you think about all of these elements and stuff? But a lot of that has to do with the understanding of composition and anatomy and what you can and can't get away with as far as the references and what to put with each other, themes, etc. All that will be covered in my future design course. But overall, yeah, that was a good question. Callie Rose Inc. asks, what's up, Shine? Are you guys going to be at Pasadena Expo this year? Yes. Golden State Tattoo Expo is the one that we go to every year, and it's our favorite one, so we'll definitely be there. If you're there, don't be shy. Say hi. That's all I'm there to do, is to talk anyways. I'm not even there to, tattoo. I'm not there to do anything else besides network. The whole crew's going to be there, and they're all going to be, some of them going to be tattooing. So I'm going to be kicking it, walking around. We're bringing some clients and stuff. But at the end of the day, we're going to Golden State to do some podcasts, and we're going to connect with everybody that follows us throughout the year, because it's really fun to put faces to the names of Instagrams. And I really enjoy talking to people in person, just like I do this iShine thing. Talking to you in person is like even better than this. So if you're going to Golden State and you see me or any of the crew, do not be shy to say hi because we will chop it up. Tattoos by Eats asks how to keep your stencil from rubbing off. Ointment, sir. That's why we use ointment. There's other reason we use ointment, but if you make sure you have a thin layer of your glide or ointment or petroleum or whatever you're using and you put it over the stencil before you tattoo it, when you wipe, it's going to allow that ink to sit on top of the petroleum layer or your glide layer that you just put on. And then when you wipe it, it'll come off a lot easier as opposed to you trying to scrub off this ink and it's also taking the stencil with it. So letting it dry completely, first of all, the stencil, and then before you tattoo it, let's say you're starting in this little area, just put a little thin layer of ointment over that whole area right there and then start tattooing. And you'd be surprised, especially if you're starting the line at first, you could dab it off and it'll soak up all the ink into the paper towel. And then as you start to pack black, you might have to wipe a little bit, but just make sure you're putting a little bit of ointment in that general area before you go ahead and wipe it because you can take the stencil off prematurely. That and just good stencil practice is just wiping down every time. So if you're starting from the bottom of your tattoo and working your way up, make sure that everything that you do, you're going to wipe down away from the stencil as opposed to wiping into the stencil. A lot of people might start in the middle or they might start at the top, which is ridiculous because you're generally going to want to be able to wipe just like this. And if you do, you're going to wipe right into the stencil and you're going to start wiping off your stencil prematurely. So using the ointment is my main advice, though. Would you ever do Ink Master? That'd be dope. So this year, for this up-and-coming season of Ink Master, they actually hit me and Jessa up to be on the show. I don't think I want to do it, especially not right now. Just not really my vibe right now. But the option is always there. I'm pretty sure that whenever we want to, if we're like, hey, we want to be on this season, that they would take us with open arms. But, you know, it kind of sprang on us out of nowhere. And once you say yes to stuff like that, you have to go start filming like pretty soon after you say yes. So I just don't think I was ready this year. Didn't feel like doing it or whatever. But it's always a possibility that next season or the season after that it might be in the cards. But I'm just kind of going with the flow and seeing where life takes me. And if that ends up being what I do and maybe me and Jessa get on the same season, which I think would be ideal, I think that's definitely a possibility. Jamie Y Tattoos asked, do you favor booth rent or commission, and do you use long taper or medium taper? First of all, long taper, medium taper, I don't really think about it too much. I guess long taper, but I don't really care that much. I don't think it makes such a big difference that it's like, oh my God, no wonder my tattoos look like this. I've been using a short taper the whole time. Long taper is good, medium taper is good. Now for your other question, do I favor booth rent or commission? I like both. Here at the shop, we do percentage, and I'll tell you why. I like to provide as much as I can for the artist, so all they have to do is focus on tattooing, and they don't have to focus on anything else. They don't have to focus on collecting deposits or booking or parking or supplies. I even provide needles. I provide every supply that you could think of other than the machine. Everything is set up. The space is beautiful. They have a manager they could talk to about scheduling their stuff or things that they need. They need time off. A bunch of stuff, a bunch of reasons why percentage works better. And then also, some artists don't like the burden of the commission or of the booth rent because it's like a looming bill, you know? And then the work here, our booth rent would need to be something pretty substantial. So if you don't tattoo, you still owe the booth rent, which is good for the shop, but for some artists, they don't really like that burden. When it comes to the commission or the percentage, if they don't tattoo, then they don't owe any money. If they tattoo, they owe money. So it kind of leaves it open for them to explore the way they want to structure their life. And if they have to take time off, they're not so agitated by the fact that they still have to pay this big bill. I think it's a healthy balance for the shop and the artist, the fact, like the way that we do it. And then if any of my artists ever wanted to go booth rent and they wanted to take that on, I would definitely have that conversation. But I've had this conversation with them many times, and they prefer the percentage base so that they're not stuck with that booth rent looming over their heads every month. So that's my answer to that. Love from Nepal. Thank you, man. I really want to come to Nepal one of these days. It's on my bucket list of places to travel to. Not for tattooing, but just for connecting, you know? Moving on, moving on. Do you have any cross-country collaborations you want to do soon? Love seeing those works and seeing what you could do with other artists of your caliber. I don't have anything planned, but it's a good idea. I would love to collaborate with other artists. Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be in the books in the future. You know, a lot of times I like traveling nowadays. There's not so much to tattoo, but to explore the world and kind of be in the moment in that way. Sometimes the tattooing kind of takes over the priority over everything else, and it's all I could focus on if that's what I'm doing. If I'm going to work, then I'm focusing on work completely. But it would be fun to collaborate with some good artists and seeing what kind of crazy pieces we could do. But what's cool is I also have a bunch of really dope artists here that I could collaborate with, and I have, and it's amazing to be at home and to feel comfortable working on an extra large project and coming out with something super unique. So definitely some more collaborations in the future. As far as cross-country collaborations, I'm sure it'll happen, but I don't really have a specific date in mind. So Angel Tats asked, do you build your tones with light percentage or dark percentage with light pressure? Depending on how dark the tone I'm going in to do immediately, like if I know it's a medium dark or something like that, I'll probably just go straight in with that tone and I'll get that saturated. Because what I like to do is I like to saturate the dark tones and then finesse the lightest tones out to skin. And by finesse, I mean it's a little more surfacey, it's less packing. But when it comes to the dark tones, even the medium tones, I like to get those in there really solid. And then when I really start to finesse is the light hand pressure with the lighter tones. And I think a harmony between both is going to give you the most solid and realistic effect, because if everything is feathered in, then you won't really have those dark darks healing the way you want them to. But if everything is packed, it will lose the softness of the black and gray that it should feel like. So kind of a mixture of both, but I definitely use that light tone a lot when it comes to fading those tones out to skin, you know. Moving on, moving on. Let's see. Pinhead Art said, very humble words on the money question and respect. We're artists. Some years are going to be a struggle. Others are going to be great. Yeah, 100%. And you can't really, there's a fluctuation, of course, but like we're so spoiled as tattoo artists. And I think some of these young people getting into tattooing kind of take it for granted. There's people that are 21 years old, started tattooing 2 years ago, and they're making thousands a day. Okay. So it's like, I don't even want to talk about money, to be honest. I don't even want to make tattooing more about money than it already is, because that's not who I want to be. I don't want to be that guy that's just sitting here telling you how much money you can make tattooing. I would rather tell you that you have a very privileged situation when it comes to being a tattoo artist, and to take advantage of that fully is where you're going to find the balance between your work life. You know, a lot of people don't have that opportunity to kind of adjust the way they work so that they have a better work-life balance because they're in a set schedule. They have to be at work 6 days a week, 5 days a week. They have to be there at this time, no matter what, or you'll get fired. But if you're able to set your own schedule and you figure out what your own needs are as far as your bills and then what extra you want on top of that, you'd be surprised at the quality of life you could live if you just if you think about all the areas in your life and figure out how you could be present in those areas. I know tattoo artists that are tattooing 2 days a week, making plenty of money, and they get to spend so much time exploring their life, doing things that they want, having hobbies, spending time with their family, traveling, and they get to do all of that because they're tattoo artists. So, like, think about the opportunities you have as an artist. And, yeah, like, you know, tattooing's hard, and then it's tied to the economy somewhat and stuff like that, but all of that is very fun problems to have compared to working at fucking, you know, a warehouse job that they could fire you at any moment because you're replaceable. And this is a skill. It's a trade. It's something you could take with you for the rest of your life, and no one could ever take this knowledge away from you. So just recognize what you have. Don't make it so much about the money. I realize it's a factor, obviously, but after you get to a certain point, focus on the ability that you have to kind of maneuver your life the way that you want it to be the happiest you could be. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to be happy and we all just want to be fulfilled. And we as tattoo artists have a perfect opportunity to explore that. So moving on. What time is it? About 5:39. We'll go for about 20 more minutes. It's fine. Love the video, Shine. How would an artist book clients for a guest spot in another city when they don't have a lot of followers? I'm glad you love the videos, first of all. Second of all, booking guest appointments, it can be difficult, but I think that you should work closely with the shop that you're guesting at and seeing if you guys could start the promotion way ahead of time. And maybe give them a deal or make them feel like they're getting a deal. Maybe try to book one client for 2 days so you can fill up 2 days with a single client. Maybe have pre-made designs so that people know when you're coming to that city, they're like, oh, he's coming and I could get that dope design that he already made. I'm going for it. I should just do it spontaneously because I want that design. Reaching out to people in that area and just having the shop help you a bit, you know, like cross promotion, making sure you're posting regularly leading up to the guest spot, but make sure you're not trying to fill that appointment 4 days before you go out to the guest spot because it's going to be very hard unless you're very well known. Just try to promote way ahead of time and then utilize whatever resources you have as far as the shop and stuff, and then make pre-made designs if you can, and promote those as well. JKB Tattoo asks, any advice on balancing the constant drive to improve and work on your craft without burning out? Well, JKB, there's actually a way deeper answer to this, but I guess I could give you the simplistic answer. Everyone, no matter what profession they're in or industry or job they have, are in this constant state of rushing to get to a destination so that they could be happy. Okay? Oh, once I get this, then I'll be happy. Oh, once I reach this destination, or once I get to this level, once I'm this good at tattooing, once I make this amount of money, once I buy that house or that car, I'll be happy. And that day will never come. You'll accumulate these things, you'll get to these places, and you're going to realize you're still not fulfilled, and then the grind never stops. You're in this constant state of urgency, and it takes a toll on you. You're in this urgency to stay grinding, stay focused, hustle culture, keep your head down, do the work, get the bag, all this shit. And what it's really doing is like you're using work to fill a hole that you don't know how to fill, okay? So anytime that you take that tattooing away, or maybe it's slow, or maybe you stop tattooing, or you get sick, or something happens, you're going to feel like nobody because all you have is the craft. And you have identified with the craft so much so that if you took it away, you feel like nothing. And what I would advise you to do is in your off time or just the time that you get, do a little introspection, do a little deeper work to figure out what really matters in your life in general. If you took it all away and money wasn't a factor and you could do whatever you want, and like what is really sets your soul on fire? What really makes you light up? What makes you feel good in the moment? Not because you want to post it on Instagram and it looks cool, or you want to show off to some people, or you're trying to create a social mask that works so well that everyone wants to be you. Not that. I'm talking about literally you. Like, you might like nature. You might like playing baseball. You just might like doing little things that are fun with friends or hanging out with your family or something. Figure out what really matters to you and then add that into the balance of your grinding. You'll have a better balance in life if you focus on both of those, not just the tattooing. Because the tattooing could always be there. You could always grind. You could always hustle. You could always get better. But if you're sacrificing everything else in your life for this to hope that one day it pays off into the form of happiness, I'm here to tell you it's probably not going to happen. Because I've seen plenty of artists get to the point that they wanted to and beyond that, and they still don't know what the real sense of fulfillment comes from. So that's a real deeper question, and that's something that I took on years ago to figure that out. And in the past year or two, I have done a lot of work on myself to figure out what that is for myself. And my life has never been better. I'm tattooing less, but I feel amazing. Every day is much better than it used to be. Far less anxiety, way more in the moment, and way more enjoying what I'm doing, whatever it is I'm doing. Whether I am tattooing or whether I'm just outside soaking up the sun and listening to the fucking birds chirp, I am there. I am present, and it feels good. So, there's a deeper answer to that, but that's the surface level answer I will give you for now. Let's see. Jonathan Julian asked, what were the procedures to get onto the TV show you were on? Good question. I was on Black Ink Cruise Chicago season 5. I don't remember how many episodes, but I was on there. They hit me up, actually. I was doing YouTube heavily back then. I was doing vlogs, as some of you know, and our vlogs were really popping at the time. And then I was really consistent on Instagram, and we were just pumping out content like crazy. And then I randomly get a call one day from a producer from VH1, and they were like, hey, we have this TV show. We have a spot to fill, and we feel like you would be a great person to fill it. I was like, okay, dope. Like, what's the next steps? I'm down. Let's do it. So we actually had to do a Skype interview call for like 2 hours. And this was basically like a face-to-face Skype call with one of the producers. And what they did was they asked me different questions, lifestyle questions, or, hey, if this happened, how would you react? Or, hey, like, what would you do if... Just trying to get a sense of the personality of how you would be on television, right? We did that. Took like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Fucking nailed it, and they loved it. And then they hit us back and was like, "Hey, you're good to go, and we need you to fly out." And they flew us out. They flew me out like pretty soon after that, and went right into filming. So I could see like the audition process for the Skype call might not go as smoothly for everybody, but I made sure that we were going to get in there because it was a dope opportunity. And then I just had to commit to the fact that, hey, I'm about to be on TV, and I don't know what this is going to feel like or what it's going to be like, but I'm going to keep my chin up, and I'm going to tackle whatever happens next. And that's basically what I did. I am a different person now than I was on the television show. So if I went on TV now, I don't know. I just, I've done a lot of growing since then. And I don't know how it would come across differently, but I've really just came into my own. I would love the opportunity to get back on TV, but to be honest, I really enjoy doing our own content. And if I never go back on TV again, I really don't care. But opportunities are opportunities, and as they arise, I will decide if it is best for me in my life at the time and just go with the flow. Moving on. No. Chacon Tattoos, what's up, bro? Asked, I love your servant leadership. How did you change your mindset? Any books you recommend? Cheers, brother. Cheers. I think most of this mindset came from me working in other shops. I've worked in some shops where the owner was like a dictator, right? This is actually most of the shops I've worked in. Like their word is everything, and they like to impose their will upon you. They impose their power. This is my house. You will not do this if I don't want you to, and you should shut up, and you should just fucking blah, blah, blah. And I think that that's them projecting something onto their employees. And there's some insecurity level there. There is a time and place for you to be stern or stand by something that you set forth ahead of time if someone's breaking a rule or like they're just acting out or doing some crazy shit. But overall, like if everyone's on the same page and they know how this goes down, everyone's just tattooing and keeping a good attitude. It's very rare that someone would just fucking do some absolutely crazy shit like they're just doing a line in the bathroom or something like that. Like that doesn't happen here, you know? Everyone's on the same page because I set the page ahead of time. A lot of it is just like, hey, this is who we are. This is how we're going to do things. And I want to make sure that you guys agree with this because I really want to do good by our clients, do good by you guys. And I found that in this form of leadership where you're more giving and you're more thoughtful about the other people that you're around, it tends to come back to you as opposed to you just trying to take from your people. And then eventually they're going to catch on and realize that you're a boss, not a leader, and there's a huge difference. So there are plenty of books out there for this type of thing, but I learned a lot of this from my own experience of being an artist in other shops. And yeah, it's definitely the better way to be. You catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar, and I think that there's a way to go about it that puts the human level back into the conversations that you have with your employees, puts you on the same level, like, hey, what's going on? You know, if there's something that needs to be talked about, let's talk about it. Let's open communication. If you're not happy about something, let's talk about it. You want to move on? Let's talk about it. What, you know, I'm down for you to explore your dreams and whatever you see in your life. But I think overall, just be supportive, set the vision ahead of time and make sure everyone agrees. And if you really want to get detailed, you could even put together some artist agreements on paper so that everyone makes sure they're on the same page. And then if anything goes wrong and that it's a direct contradiction to what you have agreed upon, it's not your fault as the leader or as the boss or the leader. It's their fault for going against what they've already agreed upon. So I think that's the more structured and more supportive way about going about being a leader. Moving on. Shane's Tattoo 123 asked, what's up, bro? Just wondering, is it better to bloodline the outline of the tattoo or work section by section? Good question. Depending on the size of the tattoo, if you're working on a really like a half sleeve or something big or even bigger than that, I'm a big proponent of gray lining the tattoo. But if it's big, you don't have to gray line the entire thing right away. I used to try to do that, but you find yourself like gray lining all the way to the top and then coming back down to start shading. But I would gray line a big chunk of it so that I would make sure I'm not wiping off the stencil and I make sure I got my edges good. And then I start coming off of those edges with my mag and stuff. When people just go right in with a mag, I don't care how clean you think you're getting it, but these edges need to be solid. And if they're not, you're going to see it when it heals. And every time a tattoo I see healed, I could tell if they did it with just a mag or if they gray lined it. It's a big difference. And if you want your shit to be really clean, you have to think about these edges. Even if you're coming off of a negative edge with a gray, like a medium or a light gray, you have to make sure that edge is so saturated that it has the same ability to heal solid, like as if there was a black line there. It needs to be solid. And to do that, I've always enjoyed doing the gray line first and then shading, just to get the cleanest effect, the cleanest edges. Those edges healed are going to be a big a big part of why your tattoos look as bright and clean as they do. Hit it with a mag, only a mag. It might look pretty clean when you first do it, but when it heals, you're gonna see this slight little blurriness, like a little diffusion in the edges, and that's going to affect the overall tattoo because everything's going to look a little diffused, so it's going to look just not as clean as someone that would get those super solid saturated edges. All right, moving on. Melissa, if you're ever going to a convention in California, you will definitely meet us. But until then, we probably see you at some random convention, or maybe we'll be in Australia one day. I don't know. But Melissa, you've been following us for a while. We always see you. And we'll definitely meet one day. Definitely. I'm sure Jessa wants to meet you as well. Kimmy's in here. What's up, Kimmy? How do you set up your ink caps? What do you mean by 12 drops? So whatever ink you're using to make your drop set, some people have pre-made wash sets, which is totally fine as well, and that's totally valid. But I make my gray washes out of Intense Dark Gray Wash. And when I say 12 drop, it means that there's 12 drops of ink, and then the rest of the cap is filled up with water or a dilution solution. 12 drop would be somewhere in the middle for me because I like to do a 3, 7, 12, half cap, full cap, and then a black. And then that's my gray wash / black setup. So 12 lands somewhere in the middle, and I actually use a lot of the 12 drop. But yeah, that's what I mean by 12 drop. All right, let's catch up to some of these questions that are... Let's see. Looking through the questions. Okay, Noah Tattooer asks, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. There's some heavy hitters out here, and I've seen some well-known artists only book 10 days in May. What are your tips to be as competitive as you can in a competitive market? Well, Noah, when you say heavy hitters, you know, there's probably a lot of really good artists that are well-known. They do large-scale pieces, and they probably charge a decent amount. So when they first started charging a decent amount doing these large-scale pieces, they were already putting themselves inside of a niche, which is totally fine. I love niches. I'm in a niche myself. Now, when times start to shift and maybe there's not so many readily available people spending that much amount of money, but they are with, some people are going to this person, some people are going to that person. So they're kind of like scattered out a little bit, and they all do the same style, so the clients don't really know the difference. I would say for you to stand apart and be competitive, you, need to be proactive on following up with people that show interest, because there's a lot of people that show interest that people don't follow up on, and there's literally appointments just sitting in their DMs, sitting in their emails, sitting in their text messages, sitting in their comments on Instagram, and they're there. You're just not proactively going after them yourself because maybe you got too used to them just flocking to you, right? On top of that, just different ways of showing your work online, hitting up previous clients that you maybe haven't tattooed in a while, giving them a deal to rebook. These type of things, like utilizing all of the tools that you need to like scramble together a bunch of appointments for a month to fill it up. It's honestly not that hard. It just takes a little bit of effort for you to go above and beyond to reach out to get the appointments as opposed to just waiting for them to come to you. Because some artists will just not be booked and they'll just sit on their couch and they'll just be like, God damn it, life is over. Well, it's like, well, okay, like, well, if you need to tattoo, if you need to fill this date, try to fill the date. Like, don't just post on your story and be like, hey, I'm filling the date. Oh, no one hit me up, so my life is over. Be proactive. You know, figure it out. Reach out to old clients, new clients, go in the comments, message people. Be like, oh, I heard you wanted this idea. That's actually a dope idea. I'd be down to do that this weekend for this. Just being proactive as an artist, because sometimes you're going to have to get in that mode where you're going to try to book this month out so you don't have to worry about it, and it is what it is. And then on top of that, what's up? And then, yeah, package deals, package days. Make sure they feel like they're getting a deal. Put together multiple days in a row and be like, hey, if you book 2 days, I'll give you $500 off or something like that. Or make them feel like they're getting a deal. Because at the end of the day, you giving a deal is totally fine for you if the alternative is you just don't tattoo. You know, like, you need to tattoo, then don't be so fucking stuck up about it. Like, do what you need to do to make people feel special, wanted. The client wants to feel like they're getting something good for a good price. And the benefit, if you're at a higher, and they come back. So it's like, even if you get a client through a deal or through whatever way you need to, that is now a client that you can reach back out to, or they reach back out and they keep coming back. And really, like, trying to build up your contact list with people you've tattooed before is a good source for you to book days that you have open, because they're going to be the first place you want to go to try to fill days, because they already started a project, they already got some work, they know how it is. And if you hit them up and you're like, hey, I got a deal, they're like, oh yeah, I'll take all 3 of those days if I could have them. And you're like, dope, there it is, and you filled it. So there's plenty of ways. You just got to be proactive, and don't be such a diva about it. Sick Lines asks, tattooing is so taxing on the body, sitting in strenuous positions for long periods of time daily. What things do you do outside of tattooing to keep your body aligned and fit for the job? This is a great question. I would say that no matter what profession you're in, it is your job as a human being to spend your off time or your mornings raising your frequency, getting your body loose, getting your blood flowing, stretching out your muscles, and all of these things so that you can approach the day at the highest frequency that possible, right? So instead of just like waking up out of bed and then just laying there until you really have to go, and then you just rush out of the door, and then you have to tattoo all day and it feels real shitty, you need to get up, you need to stretch, you need to get loose, you need to get your mind right. And if you're asking me personally what I do, I try to wake up as early as possible, maybe 6:30. Instantly, right when I wake up, I go downstairs and I do breath work. So I do a Wim Hof breath work. It takes about 10 minutes. If you guys don't know what that is, you guys can YouTube it, and it's a guided breathing session. Right after that, I'll go into 10 minutes of meditation. And what this is going to do is it's going to clear out any of these random thoughts that are approaching me early in the morning that are usually negative, because some people, right before you go to bed and right when you wake up, your mind is most susceptible to the negative thoughts. So what meditating is going to do is help distance yourself from you being a victim of the thoughts versus you controlling and observing the thoughts, right? And this is a huge game changer for you to be able to set your mind right for the day and making sure that you're really using your mind, not letting it use you. And once you let it use you, your whole day is going to be fucked anyways, right? Right after that, you need to start focusing on hydrating from the night and then getting some form of exercise. I don't care if you just stretch or you go to the gym or you go in your garage and do a routine or do a mobility routine. Whatever that looks like for you, you need to get your blood flowing through your body before you go to the shop, because that's going to allow you to be fully awake by the time you go in. Then what I would do is I'd make sure I eat really good food, whole foods, something that is nutritious and nutrient dense, but not something so heavy that it's going to have you lethargic and tired. So like this morning I had 3 eggs, a whole avocado, and then I had sourdough toast with cottage cheese, honey, and blueberries. Now, it's a very nutritious meal, all whole foods, all really good. There's no preservatives, and I got all the nutrition I need to start my day. A little bit of coffee, get it going, and then you're off to work. And then once you're off to work, you're so fully awake and you're so revitalized that you're showing up with a different attitude and a different frequency. And if you compare a day when you don't do these things versus when you do these things, they're night and day difference. And once you realize that, you'll never really want to go into work without doing your non-negotiables, is what I call them, ever again. And it's really it's really a lesson in life in general, because no matter what you're doing, your job when you wake up needs to be to get your frequency high so that you can go out the best version of yourself, as opposed to just kind of trauma dumping or crisis dumping on everybody because you feel like, oh, I'm in pain, or my head hurts, or I'm tired, or I'm this, or I'm that. How can you show up the best version of yourself every day? You have to do the work to make it happen. And this is honestly like something that has changed my life. So I suggest you guys adopt some of these things as well. And if you don't have the time to do it, you just wake up earlier. So sad, but that's the answer, my friend. My phone is on 2%, and we've been going for a while, guys. I don't want this to die before I end the live chat. But I hope you guys got a lot out of this live. Like I said, the best questions are going to be clipped and put on Instagram and YouTube, and then the long version of this podcast is going to be put on YouTube. If you guys don't mind going over to our YouTube channel and subscribing and liking and commenting on some of your favorite videos. We got a bunch of content up there, and we're trying to post on it regularly. And we're going to try to do these Ask Shines at least once a week, if not more. And we're going to grow the show to be something special. This is just the beginning. I know I'm holding my phone. I'm just talking to you guys, but there's going to be more to it and a more opportunity for you guys to learn live and get the information you need to grow as a person and an artist. So with that being said, thank you guys for participating. For all the people that have returned and have been on Ask Shine before, thank you for coming back. And for the people that are new, welcome. And you are welcome back anytime. And that's a wrap. I'm going to go enjoy my day and get some food. So love you guys, and I'll see you on the next episode of Ask Shine Live. Peace.